Hello. So it is yet another lesbian book review from myself to you. Wow, love that. I had no idea about the book. I did realize that I have read a book from this author, which I forgot what the book is, but I'll put it somewhere after when I'm editing. But yeah, anyway, I'm just looking at my iPad. But this is Far From the World We Know by Harper Bliss. And I'm going to just read the blurb quickly and then I'll go into my own thoughts and feelings about the novel. But anyway, so it says, how far must you run to I'm going to start again. So, it says, how far must you run to escape the past? Broken from past trauma, Laura heads to... I can't read. Broken from past trauma, Laura heads to small-town Texas where she crosses paths with sharp-witted Tess. Laura isn't ready to open up again, but her feelings for Tess are undeniable. Will Tess be able to get past Laura's defenses? And will Laura allow herself to love and live again? Find out in this powerful new novel by chart-topping author Harper Bliss. There you go. That's the blurb. And I will just say about the author, again, the back of the book. So it says, Harper Bliss is a best-selling lesbian romance author. Among her most loved books are the highly dramatic French Kissing and the often thought-provoking Pink Bean series. I haven't read that, but we'll see. Harper lived in Hong Kong for 7 years, travelled the world for a bit, and has now settled in Brussels, in Belgium, with her wife and photogenic cat, Dolly Purton. Love it. Together with her wife, she hosts a weekly podcast called Harper Bliss and her Mrs. or Miss MRS. Don't know how you say that. Harper loves hearing from her readers, and you can reach her at the email address below. Cute. Love that. And then here's a quick, long list of all of her novels that these are all her other... It's a bit crazy, isn't it? Anyway, basically, now that we've got that out of the way, here is my take on it. So, I think... First of all, as an overall reaction, I love the book. I'm super glad that I read it. It was really great. And also, I think it's, even though I've read one of her books before, it's really cool to know, I love finding authors who have, lots of other books that they also have published. So you can kind of jump on their bandwagon and just read, all of their books, which is great. I've done that with a few different authors, as in my first general book review. You'll see there's been multiple books from different authors that I've read. But anyway, back to this book. I think at the beginning I was I wasn't necessarily thinking about the book all the time, couldn't get enough of the book, was always having to read it and whatever. It was something that I was reading at night. And, I wasn't at the very beginning, it was kind of, I'm not gonna lie, main character Laura, is a little bit annoying. And I'm not trying to, it's controversial, I know, but I just think that books where there was obviously a purpose for her being very repetitive about how she had this mysterious trauma from her past, and that's why she moved to the new town in Texas. But I think that it got a bit too repetitive for me at the beginning, because you don't know why she had this trauma for a while, but she's kind of weaving it into every single like sentence, which like sounds a bit shit because it's like, obviously, you know, she went through this and it was a big deal, and she's, yeah, I mean, I'm trying to say that I know that it was put there for a reason, and that it was to show that like she was really struggling with this trauma and it was kind of taking over everything. But it kind of, yeah, I think for me in the beginning, because I didn't know why, she was using it as like, you know, she would like have a really cool fun time with Tess, and then she'd be like, oh, but my trauma. But yeah, I think, anyway, once I found out what her trauma was, I was like, you know, it was much more, it was easier for me to understand and keep reading and, you know, understand why it was kind of taking over her life, really. But yeah, just right at the beginning, it was a bit like, I feel like it's always, you know, I didn't know her yet. I didn't know her story. I didn't know anything about her. And to kind of come straight in with like this very repetitive event that kind of controls her life without knowing what it is and without knowing her, was like, you know, I didn't have a connection with her yet, and it was hard to then have a, you know, understand why this was taking over her life. But once I understood, it was like, you know, it was much, yeah, and once I had a connection with her, you know, it was much more understandable and less annoying, really. But I know that's very controversial, I'm a little bit scared to say that, but yeah, I think all I needed was just like more of an establishment of connection first, and then, you know, I could have understood that better. But that's just my opinion. But anyway, finished the book, definitely cried. Like, you know, in the beginning I was like, it's a bit like, you know, but I kind of knew that it was going to be a book where you kind of have to read it and get to a certain point before you're thinking about it all the time, picking it up, you know, to read all the time and everything like that. But it did take a bit of time for me personally to kind of get to that point. Because it's kind of like, you know, when you read like all of the books about when it's like, oh, like the girl's like trying to figure out her sexuality, and that's kind of the whole, like, that's like, you know, 3/4 of the book, and then you've got 1/4 of the book right at the end where it's talking about like her relationship, and like, oh, finally she was able to accept her sexuality, now she's going out with her best friend kind of vibe. Do you know what I mean? I loved those books for a bit, but then I kind of realized that like I was more interested in like seeing the journey of, you know, someone who was, I mean, I feel like I read those types of books when I was figuring out my sexuality, really. I mean, not really, but like right at the beginning when I was accepting myself, whatever. But now that I'm like fully, you know, accepted and yeah, like no issues there, you know, I'm at a different stage where now I'm more interested in like, okay, she's accepted herself, you know, and you know, she's looking for a partner kind of vibe. So that I kind of feel like was, you know, those books I felt like took time to kind of get to the point where like it had more substance than just her finding out her sexuality, but that was also important. It's also important, but I was getting sick of that. That's what I'm trying to say. And that kind of happened with this, but with the character a little bit. But overall, definitely recommend it. If you're interested in, just going, like, following a journey of a character and, you know, there being, like, definite roadblocks in the way and her trying to work through it with another, you know, person and by herself. I definitely, but I also felt, I was like, you know, I also felt like I wanted it to go for longer in the end, because I was like, oh fuck, like, you know, I want a sequel or something, you know what I mean? But I do know that I think it's Harper Bliss, I could be wrong, but she has a trilogy, which is like a 3-part series, and I just started reading, the first one, and I mean, I only read a few pages. I obviously wasn't in the mood to be reading, but I kind of was like, okay, I don't think I can, it was, again, a bit slow, but I hadn't gone into it yet, so I can't really judge it yet. But yeah, and then I moved on to a different book. But once I'm finished, and it's like pretty fucking good, if I'm not gonna lie. But I'll do a review on that when I'm finished. But yeah, really great book. Definitely recommend it. Harper Bliss, if you're listening, would love a sequel. No, I'm joking. But yeah, so I hope the controversy is not too much. And yeah, so I hope you read it. Let me know what you think. Please let me know again, if you have any tips for what I should include in these reviews, because I'm still not sure. I'm just kind of, I haven't actually, I don't really plan much once I try to do it right after I finish reading a book, so I have the book fresh in mind and my feelings fresh. But I don't really know what to include yet, so I'm kind of just going off whatever happens once I turn the camera on. But please let me know if you have any tips and tricks on what I should do. As a separate note, I would also just like to, thank people for watching my content. Really appreciate it. And yeah, I guess I will see you when I see you. That's it. Please like, subscribe, do all that shit. Comment below, always new recommendations. Would love to see it, but I'll see you when I see you.